You know, there is both a disadvantage and an advantage in going last. The disadvantage is that many of the points you might have been made. The advantage is that you have new points that you can respond to. I was actually going to talk about Iran, but I've decided we'll save that for the Q&A. I want to pick up on something that Dominique said, because I think it's a very important observation about the changing nature of the geopolitical landscape. And in fact, Israel will have to be operating in a way that is somewhat different than the past. It certainly has never helped Israel to be in a situation where when America's standing goes down, by definition, Israel's standing must go down. When America's standing goes up, it can be of help to Israel. But it's clear that in the last several years, as American credibility has been hurt, so has Israel's. And as power balances shift, Israel will be operating in a new universe. But I also want to put something in perspective. The U.S.-Israeli relationship is a function not just of the U.S. seeing and having a special relationship with Israel and understanding why there are certain links. It's also been a function that there hasn't been anybody else who was prepared to be a reliable friend to Israel. It is interesting that in 1967, when Abba Eban went to Paris to see Charles de Gaulle to remind him of the commitments that had been made to Israel in 1956, de Gaulle said to Abba Eban about those commitments, well, that was 1956, and this is 1967. So from an Israeli standpoint, if it turns out that commitments that are supposed to be forever turn out to be time-limited, then you realize that there are only some you can count on. The Israeli-U.S. relationship has oftentimes been a function not just of values, but of need. Now we're in a universe where things are changing, and the U.S.-Israeli relationship will endure because of everything that binds us. But there are going to be new sets of challenges, whether it's Iran or it's within the region itself. It is in Israel's interest to find ways to build and elaborate and enhance the nexus that it may have with the Europeans, I would say with the Russians and with the Chinese as well. And let's look at one of the challenges that exists quite apart from Iran, but it's at least the Iranian nuclear issue for the moment. It's not apart from Iran in a general sense. If you go back to 1991, since 1991, there has been a basic narrative about the region. The basic narrative was that when it comes to peace, there'll be a two-state outcome. That's what the essence of the peace process that was launched at Madrid was about. It became more explicit with the Oslo process. Now, the reality of that two-state narrative is now being challenged.